Canada, the UK, and Australia now formally recognizing the State of Palestine. The three nations making a coordinated announcement saying their effort is designed to preserve the possibility of a two-state solution. France is scheduled to host a summit on recognizing a Palestinian state tomorrow at the UN General Assembly here in New York. Canada's statement also calling on Hamas to release the remaining hostages and to play no role in governing the territory going forward. ABC News foreign correspondent Tom Burridge is in Jerusalem with more on this. So, Tom, how did the announcement come together here?
Yeah, look, France has been leading the charge on this. It's been working with Arab nations and other European nations over the last few months. Look, these countries, are saying that because the war in Gaza goes on, they are calling for an immediate end to the war, the full release of the hostages, and this is a response to the fact that that hasn't come about. They're also saying that the idea of a two-state solution, something that previous US administrations over the decades have tried to work on, tried to get the Israelis and the Palestinians, the more moderate Palestinians, to come up with a solution where Palestine would have its own state living side by side peacefully with Israel. These nations, Canada, Australia, the UK, France tomorrow, Belgium, Luxembourg, they are all saying that that two-state solution, the idea is at risk of dying out. Now, we've just been in the West Bank. This is largely a symbolic move. It's not going to change much on the ground. And actually, Israel has already started retaliating for these recognitions by these European and other Western countries. Israel is planning to expand a settlement east of Jerusalem, which we've just been in, doubling the population there. And it's also threatening to fast-track another plan to build many more settlements right through the central part of the West Bank, which would effectively, if it went ahead, split the West Bank in two. So there's a lot going on here. There's real repercussions potentially in terms of Israel's actions. But for Palestinians, they're welcoming it generally. A lot of Palestinians say they wish this happened many years ago, but it won't change much on the ground immediately.
And Tom, you touched on this, but President Trump said this week during his visit to the UK that he disagrees with plans to recognize a Palestinian state at this time. How does that factor in here?
I think it's fundamentally important, right? I think, look, this is one of the key questions in terms of foreign policy. And I think for the first time in a long time, a US administration is diametrically opposed in terms of its position to pretty much all of its key Western allies, of course, apart from Israel, on a very fundamental question. That said, the Trump administration and the Israeli government are adamant. They are condemning this. They say this is a reward for Hamas. Those other allies, France, the UK, say this is not a reward for Hamas because they argue that Hamas wants to annihilate the state of Israel. So therefore, going for a solution where Israel would peacefully coexist with the Palestinian state would not be something in Hamas's interest. And they're saying Hamas will have no role to play in Gaza after the war, and they want the immediate release of the hostages. Now, the Family Forum representing the hostages is also condemning this. They say any recognition of a Palestinian state should be contingent on the release of the hostages. And look, Arab nations are also joining in this. We're expecting that conference at the UN in New York tomorrow.
So many different layers and dynamics to this, and yet the war and the suffering continues. Tom Burridge, thank you.